what arises? Of course, now you are sitting down under air-conditioned. Huh? So you feel cold, right? When this cold arises, then what happens? What also arises? Huh? What happened to your body? After a little while more, when it becomes colder, when more cold arises, then this thing also arises. When pain arises, what happens to your body? Movements arise. When there is no pain, no movement. You can sit down very quietly. Those of you who meditate, sit down cross-legged and watch. Do vipassana meditation. Oh, pain, very painful, rises. And with the pain, if you observe carefully, you start moving. Body start moving, want to avoid the pain. The pain stops, pain ceases, your movement also ceases. Oh, very happy. Now you can see this phenomena of conditionality. When certain conditions are there, other conditions come in. When this is not there, that is not there. They are actually a set of conditions, not only one condition. So, that is the standard formula. We may have to come back to that standard formula afterwards. So, try to remember that formula. When this exists, that exists. When this does not exist, that does not exist. Very simple. When this arises, that arises. When this ceases, that ceases. Simple? Good. Now, after this general formula, then comes the specific, the standard formula of the Paticca Samupada in that pattern of avidya paccaya sankhara. Sankhara paccaya vijnana, vijnana paccaya nama rupa paccaya salayatana, salayatana paccaya phassa, phassa paccaya vedana, vedana paccaya tanha, tanha paccaya upadana, upadana paccaya bhava, bhava paccaya jati, jati paccaya jara, marana, soka, parideva, dukkha, domanasa. Finish already. Shuffling, finish already. Now let us go one by one and see. The first is avidya. This standard formula starts with, in this pattern, avidya paccaya sankhara. Avidya here comes from the word avidya. Vidya is knowledge. So the absence of knowledge, which is ignorance or nescience, dependent on ignorance arises what? Sankharas. What is the sankhara? Sankhara, the word sankhara has got at least two meanings. One, sankhara refers to the volitionary activities in your mind. Your thoughts, ideas, imaginations, all that are sankharas. Good thoughts, bad thoughts, they are all sankharas. The other meaning of sankharas is any ordinary things are sankharas. This thing is also, what is this? What is this? Sankhara. You won't go far wrong. What is this? Sankhara. Paper is sankhara. Plastic cover, also sankhara. This is also sankhara. What do you mean by the term sankhara when I say this thing is overhead projector, also sankhara? In what sense am I using it? Object. What kind of object? Or any object. But what is the nature of that object? It is anything you can see. Not good enough. Any phenomena. There's some phenomena that does not come under sankharas. Any component things. Anything that are compounded. This thing that you see is made up of so many components, no? Paper also. They are component things. This thing is a component thing. In that sense, they are sankharas. In that formula, sabbe sankhara anicca. All component things are subject to anicca, change. In some other suttas, where the Buddha once visited a place, and that place was a barren place. And then he turns to his disciple and says, formerly there were thriving cities in this place. There were the palaces of certain kings, and they had all the beautiful buildings, all the chariots, horses. And then he refers all these things as sankharas. So all that as sankharas. That is why the word sankhara can be used in two ways. One meaning is referring to the volitionary activities, mental volition, good thoughts, bad thoughts. The other meaning is all component things. In this Paticca Samupada, which one? The first meaning or second meaning? First one, right. That is, where there is ignorance, when ignorance arises, what arises? Sankharas arises. When you cannot solve your mathematical problem, what happens? You begin to dig out your mind, isn't it? Think some more. A lot of other thoughts come up in your mind. The more, if you know it, then you just apply it. No more activities in your mind. This is just one way, a very simple way of putting it. But this is the law. Where there is ignorance, there are all kinds of activities. Unwholesome activities as well as good activities also. Why? Good activities or wholesome thoughts, they still keep you in samsara, isn't it? That chain, that 12 links, actually, they are the links, the chain which change you, which bound you to samsara. In other words, to worldly existence. You cannot get out of it because of this chain. Very nicely they have drawn big chain, but got some vacant space that you can run. It is actually a circle, not a chain like that. No? It is a circle that binds. So avidya is the first link. Sankharas is the second link. Sankhara pacchaya vijnana. Where there are these volitionary activities, sankharas, there is consciousness. Consciousness. Sometimes it is also referred to as relinking consciousness. Where there is this thought process, there is a relinking consciousness. That relinking consciousness is defined, a consciousness which links from one moment, the dying moment, and the moment when rebirth takes place. That is sometimes referred to as the Patisandhi Chitta. That is relinking consciousness. But at other times, this term, Vijnana, refers to consciousness. What kind of consciousness? Eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, mind consciousness. The 6 kinds of consciousness. So, sankharas, good, bad thoughts, conditions. Where sankharas arises, consciousness arises. Where there is this relinking consciousness, where there is this consciousness, there is the nama rupa. What is nama rupa? Nama rupa, name and form, or mind-body complex. Nama rupa. Mentality, physicality, or corporeality. Nama rupa. You are nothing but the nama rupa, the 5 aggregates. With the arising of nama rupa, there arises salayatana. What is salayatana? Sala ayatana. Ayatana refers to gateway, doors, dwaras, 6 doors, or 6 bases. What are the 6 bases? Eye base. Eye base is considered 1, not 2 eyes, 1 base. Eye base. Then ear base, nose base, tongue base, body base, and mind base. 6 bases, or 6 gateways, 6 doors. That is salayatana. Now, with the arising of these 6 bases, dependent on these 6 bases, arises what? Contact, phassa. Because you have the eye, then you can, visible object can come in contact with your eye base. Where is your eye base? Which one is your eye base? When I say eye base, what do I mean? Anybody studies biology here? Which is that sensitive spot, the base that is responsible for seeing? See, retina. The retina in your eye. That is the real eye base. Let us see. What about your ear base? What? Eardrum? No. Cochlea. Biology students must know this. And engineering students don't know this. And they should know though. And in fact, when you study Abhidhamma, there is in the commentaries how the eye base is being described. No? And also how the ear base is being described. Now they have described these things long time ago. 2,500 years and more ago, without electron, without microscope, without anything. Without also magnifying glass. They have explained it in terms of paddy fields, in terms of, hairs and all that. Oh yes. Your cochlea is like the what? Like snail, isn't it? Yeah. And the retina Not only the cochlea has got some hairy structures there, right? Like paddy field around it. Anyway, the exact descriptions you can read later. There is in that book, Psychology and Philosophy of Buddhism, you can find that how you turn towards the last chapter or so, you can get that, how these bases are being explained. So, it is through these 6 bases that arises contact. We explain contact, Pastor, as the coming together of 3 things. The eye base, plus the visual object, and the respective consciousness, eye consciousness. In case of the eye base, visual object, and eye consciousness. When these 3 things come together, there arises contact. Where there is contact, when contact arises, what happens? Feeling arises. Feeling arises. Now, when your body base, where is your body base? Where is your body base? Actually, the body base is the skin. The skin part. When this body base comes into contact with any tangible object, like a cold seed, when it comes into contact with that, then there arises body consciousness. Then where there is this contact, then you have the feeling, nice feeling or cold feeling. And when you have this cold feeling, what happens? If it is just right, nice for you, you want some more. You cling to that. When it gets too cold, then what happens? It becomes a little bit unpleasant for you. Then you start to move. Aversion arises. You don't like it now. So, where there is a pleasant object, then there arises pleasant feelings or sensations. Unpleasant objects, unpleasant feeling, unpleasant sensations. So, now, where there is feelings, when the feeling arises, then what arises? Tanha, craving, desires arise. Good feeling, then you want some more, intention. You desire for more. Or the opposite, aversion. It is the opposite of the desire. It's a repulsion arises. Where there is tanha, craving, then there is clinging. When craving arises, clinging or attachment also arises. Where there is attachment, there is becoming. The process of becoming. And where there is this process of becoming, there is jati. Jati is birth or production. It does not mean only physical birth to being. It means something is being produced. Jati. Now, in the case of the birth of a being, then that jati, where there is birth, there is not yet jara. What is jara? Decay, old age. And then, not only where there is decay, old age, there is also death. Jara, marana, soka, parideva, dukkha, domanasa. All the different kinds of suffering. So this formula, Paticca Samupada, explains how suffering arises. When we go in one way, from avijja, paccaya sankhara, sankhara, paccaya vijnana, and so on, this round, this cycle is known as anuloma. This is an order. And this anuloma, or this order, avijja, paccaya sankhara, sankhara, paccaya vijnana, this is responsible. It is also called bhava chakra, thus, or samsara chakra. It is that wheel of becoming. And that wheel that is responsible to keep you in samsara. There is another cycle though, the reverse order. When you go the reverse order, the reverse order says that when there is no avijja, there is no what? Sankharas. Where there is no sankharas, there is no vijnana, and so on. There is patiloma. And that is how to get out of samsara. How to get out of this cycle of birth and death, this worldly existence. Well, if you are still enjoying it, go on. But later when you get fed up, then you think of this formula. It is possible to get out. Now, this much for the time being about this 12 links. Now, I think most of you who have heard about Paticca Samupada might have confined your understanding to these 12 links. So, I want to go a little bit further than these 12 links, because really, Paticca Samupada does not means only these 12 links. This, in various discourses, you can find it in Samyutta Nikaya and other Nikayas, Anguttara Nikaya, where the Buddha mentioned, he does not always start with avijja. Sometimes he starts with tanha. Sometimes he starts with vedana, feelings. And then he goes on and explains how suffering arises from feelings. Okay? Now, the other applications of Paticca Samupada, this law is also used to explain all the phenomena around us. And all the different phenomena can be grouped under 5 categories. What are they? They are grouped under Utuniyama. That is the physical, inorganic world. You can explain how the physical, inorganic world arises through Paticca Samupada, through dependent origination. The second category is also the physical, organic world. That is Bija Niyama. This is the genetic order. Then there is the sphere of thought, the psychic order, Chitta Niyama. Then the fourth one, Kamma Niyama, the order, the sphere of moral laws, moral order. Then higher spiritual order, spiritual life can be explained also. The Dhamma Niyama. These 5 things or 5 orders explains everything there is. All the phenomena in this universe can be grouped under these 5 orders. And let us see how Paticca Samupada can be used to explain these different orders. The first order, physical causation. When we talk about physical, inorganic causation, we talk about the material world as such. How this world come to being. This is what you want to know, isn't it? Some of your friends must have been bothering you. How this world come to being? Where the human beings come from? Where is the beginning? What is going to happen in the end? Now there is a Buddhist theory on that also. And the Buddhist view about the origin and development of the world is this. This world, or loka in Pali, Sanskrit is loka. The definition of this world implies conflict, implies the samvatta and vivatta. Samvatta is dissolution, vivatta, evolution. There is evolution, there is dissolution. There is integration, there is disintegration. And this is the nature of the world. So there is no wonder when people fight, when things are not happening in the right order. That is the nature of the world. Otherwise, there is no world. We are standing on earth today because of what? Friction. There is cohesion. There is repulsion. Attraction and repulsion, without which we cannot stand here. Those of you who study molecular biology or chemistry or physics, you study how these atoms, electrons, they are not very peaceful, particles. They come and they hit one another for nothing. You know their nature, no? They hit one another. And that is where you find these particles. Now, that is the nature. The world has that nature. Conflict. So, you have to learn how to live in conflict. And yet, how to tackle the conflict. If you are going to follow the way of the world, then you will remain in conflict forever. That is a samsaric existence. You must know to get out of this. Now, the Buddhist theory of this world, how this world came to existence, how beings came to existence in this world. This you can find in the Aganya Sutta in the Digha Nikaya, the dissolution phase. It is said when there was a time, that this planet Earth has come to being with the integration of certain materials, certain particles. And the study of astronomy tells us that every moment now there are planets dying and there are new planets being formed. That is the way. Now, when the planet dies or disintegrates, what happened to the beings on that planet? The Aganya Sutta says that the beings, upon the disintegration of the world, these beings are reborn in another realm of existence. Which realm? In the Abhasara Brahmaloka. They are born in that Abhasara Brahmaloka as radiant beings. And there they float in the air.